It was a crazy week of fantasy football we just experienced. We've got some dogs on this waiver wire list right now. A lot of dogs who scored 20 plus, even 50 fantasy points in this game in week 3. We've got some serious guys to talk about moving forward. We've got plenty of information to make some really wise waiver wire pickups right now. So today we're going through the top 5 must-add waiver wire targets before week 4 fantasy football. And at the end of the video, we are going to include a list of guys that you can drop for these types of players here, because I find it pointless to tell you guys to pick up someone without telling you who to drop. We're telling you guys who to drop at the end of the video, so make sure to stay tuned till the end. I'm filming this at 1 in the morning on Sunday night after the Sunday night game, so please make sure to go down there and drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel to show your support for the channel. Let's go ahead and dive into these guys right now. So obviously the first one, we're starting out with the elephant in the room. It's De'Von Achane of the Miami Dolphins. 15.6% rostered. He'll be the prize pickup this week, no doubt about it, regardless of what I say about this situation. Everyone's talking about him already. And it's hard not to. The dude literally broke fantasy football in week 3. 49 points in half PPR scoring. This guy lit the world on fire in week 3. I love the pickup. I'm not saying I don't love the pickup here. I think he's going to be more involved moving forward. But this is important to note here. There's a couple things important to note here about De'Von Achane. So Miami put up 70 points against Denver in week 3. I'm going to say that again. They put up 70 points in an NFL game against an NFL defense in week 3. First of all, totally embarrassing on the Denver Broncos defense. Second of all, this offense is so freaking explosive. And third of all, a lot of guys were getting legitimate work in fantasy football that were backups on the Miami Dolphins. Robbie Chosen Anderson had a touchdown in this game, was fantasy relevant in this game. He's not even close to sniffing the starting lineup here. So my point on this is that Achane did his damage mostly late in the game. During this game, a lot of the damage was done late because the reality is Raheem Mostert still had 20 touches in this game and he still had 4 touchdowns himself. He was excellent in fantasy as well. A lot of the time, Mostert was getting the fantasy work early and then Achane was getting it late. Achane's not going away. I'm not saying that he's going away out of this offense and that you shouldn't pick him up and let your league mates do it. But what I will say is that Achane's entire season of fantasy football value came exactly from this game. So all of those numbers you see on the screen, they're so skewed by just that 1 week. Weeks 1 and 2, dude got 2 touches combined. 2 touches combined. This is so skewed right here in a 70-point game where they were absolutely dominant and their backups were playing by the end of the 3rd quarter. I'm just saying, I do love the pickup here. At the same time, I don't want to see people overspend for De'Von Achane and drop all of their fab and count on this type of game again. It's not going to happen again. At most, I would drop $20 max on De'Von Achane. Raheem Mostert's not going away. He's just not going to go away. De'Von Achane, like I said, like the pickup. Don't drop all your fab on this guy, though. Moving on to our next guy. It's a guy I've been talking about for several weeks on these waiver wire ad videos. He's still 20% rostered. It's Jaden Reed of the Green Bay Packers right here. Like I said, I've been talking about this guy for weeks. I think he's a tremendous pickup right now. I don't get why he's not been picked up more. This guy is averaging 6.7 targets per game, and he's in an offense that is a lot better than a lot of us thought. And obviously, there's a reality with this situation that's like, well, Christian Watson's not even there. So what happens with Christian Watson when he comes back? And what happens with Jaden Reed when he comes back? Natural thought would be that Jaden Reed won't be as important in this offense when Christian Watson returns. I'll counter that by saying this. When is Christian Watson going to come back? I mean, we don't have any information on when he's coming back. Now, I'm sure he'll come back soon. I would not be surprised if we saw him out there in week 4. But when he comes back, I don't see Jaden Reed riding the pine. He has established himself in this offense, man. He's come up really big in big spots. Had a massive catch in their game-winning drive against the New Orleans Saints in week 3. So I just don't see a way where Jaden Reed just gets benched all of a sudden. This guy's established himself in this offense, and I think he's established season-long upside in this particular Green Bay offense. I love this pickup several straight weeks in a row now. Jaden Reed's a great pickup off the waiver wire. Now, our next guy here honestly shocked me when I saw that he was on 33% rostered. So that means he's available in 66% of leagues. It's Roshan Johnson of the Chicago Bears. Now, I know we've got a lot of rookies on this list so far, but this guy, honestly, I don't get why a lot of people haven't picked him up yet. And honestly, you might be wondering, like, it's not like he's coming off some big game. We're not talking about Devon A-Chain type of week here. I mean, Roshan Johnson was not very good in fantasy, as were none of the Chicago Bears offense. And that's probably the problem here, is that a lot of people just don't see this offense as super high upside, and they're leaving Roshan Johnson for dead on the waiver wire because they don't see the upside here. Now, before the start of the season, I was in on Khalil Herbert. I was telling a lot of you guys, Khalil Herbert's going to be the lead back in this backfield. I was very confident in that, and I was saying draft this guy all offseason. And while he still is or was leading this backfield up until week 3, Roshan did have more carries than him in week 3. Now, you could argue, well, obviously, they got blown out as well. So, Roshan started to get more touches over the course of that game when they were already getting killed. I agree with you on that. I still think that Khalil Herbert is a relevant fantasy player. I would not drop him just yet. But the workload is increasing for Roshan Johnson every single week. We discussed this with Justin Fields earlier in the day, too. On my buy low trade target video, we discussed this. The schedule is lightening up for the Chicago Bears. Over the next 5 weeks, here's what we've got: Denver, Washington, Minnesota, Las Vegas, and the Los Angeles Chargers. This is a schedule that we could take advantage of from a rushing perspective on the Chicago Bears offense. This guy's an ascending asset. He is an ascending asset, and I think that Khalil Herbert could possibly be a descending asset, although I'm not ready to drop him yet. Roshan Johnson is the ascending asset in this backfield. Now, moving down to our next guy here, we've got our first veteran player on the list right here. It's DJ Chark of the Carolina Panthers. 43.5% rostered. So this one is honestly just a really simple one. It's super simple why you can pick this guy up, because here's the reality. Carolina has a wide receiver 1. Several weeks ago, we didn't know who the wide receiver 1 was in Carolina. We have evidence now. It's Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen leads this team in targets, and then basically Hayden Hurst is the wide receiver 2 in this offense. There's no clear, real wide receiver 2. 11 targets for DJ Chark in week 3. And here's the reality with that. DJ Chark started out the season injured. He did not play in week 1, didn't play a ton in week 2 either. Comes in week 3, has the big game. If he continues to get volume, which is 50-50, right? Like, this is a guy that we have no idea what his real upside is going to be in fantasy football. But if he does continue to get volume and you pick this guy up, you've got a big play threat in your flex option in certain weeks. And if he doesn't work out, this is a really easy drop guy. Part of the waiver wire, playing the waiver wire, is getting guys that you know that you could just drop if they don't work out. DJ Chark's the perfect example of that. The guy literally is so unpredictable, but he does have big playability attached to him. And with 11 targets, I can't leave him off this list. Moving down to our next guy, we've got my favorite waiver wire pickup. Doesn't get all the glory, but he will be discussed this week. It's Tank Dell of the Houston Texans, rostered in 22.5% of fantasy leagues. Like I said, this is my favorite waiver wire pick of the week. Devon A-Chain is going to get all the glory this week because of breaking fantasy football. And it's easy. It's a low-hanging fruit type of pick to pick Devon A-Chain. Like I said, I don't dislike this Devon A-Chain, but Tank Dell is really the real pickup here to me. And let me tell you why. So amidst A-Chain's breakout week, amidst his insane fantasy breaking week, Tank Dell quietly had 23 points in week 3 fantasy football. This guy went off. And here's the reality with the past couple weeks as well. In week 2, he had 16.7 fantasy points per game in half PPR. He was even more important this week. And over the last 2 weeks, he averages 8.5 targets per game. And 2 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks is what Tank Dell's stat line has been. And he did it, and this is the reason I love him over Devon A-Chain this week. Tank Dell did it in the most important time of the game, at the beginning of the game, when the Houston Texans still had all of their starters in the lineup. This is a great great waiver wire pickup guys. Because Houston, a couple of weeks ago, I read this and I didn't think much of it at the time because here's the secret. I was not big on Tank Dell in the pre-draft process. The guy's a rookie 3rd round pick. The guy's a shrimp. He's like 5'8", 160 pounds. I was not big on him. This guy is a legitimate good football player. And Houston, a couple of weeks ago, they said they were going to get this guy more involved in their offense after week 1. And they have backed up their word. This guy is a very strong ascending asset on an offense that is actually getting better week by week by week. 7 targets a game, 14.9 fantasy points per game. Tank Dell is easily, to me, the best waiver wire pickup for long-term value. So as we promised at the beginning of the video, we're going through the guys that you can drop in order for you guys to go ahead and get these waiver wire targets right here. So the drop list, you can see it on the screen right now. Samaje Perine is an easy drop. He had 1 total touch in week 2. Didn't have many more in week 3. The guy is basically done in fantasy football. And if he comes back and plays well, you can pick him up off the waiver wire. He's got no trade value right now. Jamal Williams, I think, is a drop. I really, really do. If you want to try to trade him beforehand, go ahead and try to do that because I do think that there's always merit in trying to trade away a player. But I don't think anyone's really going to take Jamal Williams right now. Guy's on IR. Alvin Kamara's coming back. He hasn't looked very good. It doesn't add up with Jamal Williams this year. Antonio Gibson, this guy's an easy drop. Guy's basically averaging like 5 touches a game, and that's on the higher end. He's got no upside in fantasy football. Jalen Hyatt, explosive rookie, offseason hype, not coming to fruition in New York. Juju Smith-Schuster, Allen Lazard, you still have them on your roster. You can go ahead and drop those guys as well. So let me know who your favorite waiver wire pickup is for week 4 fantasy football and what guys you're dropping in order to get a hold of those guys. And if you want to see some buy low trade targets before week 4 fantasy football, click on this video right here.